Hi, I'm your host as always, David Sagoe. Welcome to another Grit and Grime basketball podcast. I forgot what the intro is, but who cares?
What the name of the podcast?
Doesn't have to be the same. Doesn't have to be the same. Introduce myself. Who cares what you're listening to? It's me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
You know me and the guys. Thomas Arnal. Yeah, we're just shooting from the hip right now.
Well done.
Jose Garcia Vidal.
Hola.
And, it has to be that way. Michael Downey.
Flawless introduction.
Man, come on.
Flawless victory.
If you're on YouTube, you know.
Fatality.
You know my post-COVID jab game is impeccable. Speaking of game, if you are followers of our Instagram, you would have seen we were hooping together for the first time in a long time. Michael Downey, DNP child.
Soon.
But it felt good to be out there. Felt good to meet Jose for the first time, build on that chemistry.
Shout out to Patrice as well, who's like
shout out to Patrice.
A younger Kevin Garnett. It felt like
man. Came through.
Is that tall? Who knew?
Well,
yeah, I know, right? He's super tall.
Made me feel really small.
yeah. Great to meet him as well. And then people on the periphery, but in Aaron, former member of the pod, and we were hooping it up right nice, man. It's good fun. Good fun.
Felt good. Didn't feel good the next day.
It still doesn't.
But it felt good. Those 20 minutes that we managed to run at high speed.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Jose, young legs with the jump shot. Every time we were like, take a break, he was like, no, let's go.
That's because if I get cold, that's it. I can't play anymore.
You wanted to play Tibbs minutes.
Jose is the Argentinian Tim Duncan. It's unbelievable. Uncanny.
Vince is the
and Tom with those 3-pointers, man.
Yeah, I'm just your regular Steph Curry. It's fine.
Oh my god. You're like a French Tony Parker.
without the speed. We've got the same age actually. So yeah.
There you go.
But only one of us retired apparently.
Yeah.
He hit us with the comeback. Comeback mid session. So some people don't care about that. So we'll get to the NBA stuff. We have 3 series which are 2-2 right now. 3 series are 2-2, neck and neck. By the time you're listening to this, 2 of them won't be anymore. So we'll leave those till later. But we're going to begin with the Dallas Mavericks against the 4th seeded LA Clippers, who are heading back to LA, tied 2-2, having come to Dallas down 2-0. 2 very interesting games. Game 3, we had Luka scoring 8 straight buckets to begin the game. The Mavericks go up 8-0, pretty much, and then end up with a 21-point lead or something, or 19-point lead in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then Carlisle decides to bench Luka. The Clippers come back, take the lead, and it's a wrap for the series. They then proceeded to average, I think it's 22 points per quarter in the remaining 3 quarters of that game and in the 4 quarters since then in Dallas. And yeah, all those cardboard cutouts they put in the lower bowl didn't seem to lift the team enough to victory. It was rocking, but only until the Clippers went up, and then it was quiet for them. It was quiet. So what are we seeing? What's happened? We'll go to you first, Tom. There's been a few big things.
Dude, it's pretty obvious what happened. It's Luka's injury. He's got a neck all messed up and his arms all messed up too. So it's like it seems to be the running theme in the playoffs these days. The biggest players are getting injured. I mean, now we're still waiting on Embiid's update. I think by the time this comes out, hopefully the
And AD
injury
as well.
report will be out. Chris Paul's out. Out. He's playing with one arm, 2 legs. So the bunch of big players that are able to influence a series that are just all messed up. So
LeBron's playing with like one eye and one arm at the
AD
moment. Like,
AD also is
Huge
injured.
performance. One-legged pirate.
And again, I mean, I think we'll talk about the Lakers series also, but you see LeBron being non-influential over the game, which is a very odd thing to witness. But going back to the Mavs, I mean, yeah, it's what happened when one team is over relying on one player, right? That's like the definition of a one-man team over there. So as soon as he went out, yeah, Wonder Boy, yeah, exactly. But also it's also a pity for Porzingis, who is showing he's not able to be the unicorn.
well, yeah, I
anymore.
mean, we've known that.
We know that. Confirms it even more so.
Yeah.
But then also I think there was the Clippers though the Clippers team is a bit of a weird one. So I think they got traumatized last season. They were pushed to 7 game in the first round against those Mavs. And I think this year they came in with thinking, all right, the Mavs are weaker than last season. We're stronger because we got rid of all the bad apples, so to speak. And they got into the playoffs with allegedly a new focus. It's a bit weird that they started this badly. Maybe there's some sort of realization before the game, from the staff saying, look, you can't stop playing now, or you can't be inconsistent now. This is time for you to show up because you've been talking all year long and all summer long. So go for it. I think that's what may have happened. I don't think it's. I mean, I've not seen that many adjustments. I mean, the one thing I've seen is which is a weird one. It's Batum trying to be the new Boris Diaw, playing defense and trying to lock down. Yeah, Doncic, but trying to do that.
He's super consistent anyway. Whenever he gets a shot, he's money. So that's all you need from him, and he's doing it.
He's doing it, and it's quite interesting that he's. Again, I'm coming from the French angle of the thing because he's been interviewed by the French media, so they were asking him about his newfound role and how he's defining his game nowadays. And he seems to be concentrating on that aspect, trying to be the role player and trying to be the guy who's like the oil in the engine, trying to make sure everything is smooth and allowing Kawhi to just maybe concentrate a little bit more on offense.
That boy is just going crazy.
But then Kawhi is even more impressive than other years, I feel, this season. I don't know why. If he feels like it's all about being reliable and consistent. Whew.
He can't miss.
Can't
miss. He's missed 8 shots in the last 2 games.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I guess they just don't use it enough. That's kind of my thing, like, right?
Well, they're winning.
I think. I think that they started using him more now.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like, just give me the ball. Paul George is not as reliable as Kawhi is, so just give Kawhi the ball. On the last game, Kawhi had 29. Paul George had 20. I think he scored like 15 in the second quarter as well. Like, so that tells you, just Paul George is going to give you 1 quarter, maybe another half of quarter, which is great. But then give the ball to Kawhi, man. This man can't miss. Yeah. And they can't defend him either. Nobody can defend him.
Not even in the slightest. Yeah. Kleber did a good job to start, held him to 40% shooting in game 1. He was 9 of 22. He missed a lot of threes, right? But since then, game 2, he was 14 for 21 from the field, almost 67%, 57% from 3, and 90% at the line. Game 3, he was 13 of 17 from the field for 36 points, which is insane. 76.5% from the field, 60% from 3, 7 of 7 from the line. And game 4, he was 11 of 15 from the field, 73%, 2 of 3 from 3, 66.7%, and 5 of 6 from the line. Like, just unbelievable efficiency.
Yeah, the guy is not taking any easy shots either. Fair enough. You can defend him, but you could really try, and they're really trying to defend him. So he's taking contested shots. He's taking the hits. He's taking maybe unorthodox shots as well, because he's taking, fast break
mid-ranges.
shots, but he just stops at the 3-point line. He's always done this, right? But he's still doing that, so he's not taking easy shots. So the fact that he's playing like this it's making a massive difference. But also, I don't have lots to say about this, much more than what you said. Actually, Porzingis should be playing more in the low post. Luka obviously is injured and he's just not enjoying. You can tell obviously he's the main weapon of the team, but the Clippers move the ball so well. They've been playing so well, and Rondo is a massive part of that. You just see how they rotate, where they stand, the spacing. Batum is standing where he needs to stand. Paul George, goes over his man, and Zubac knows where to stand. Like it's just. They're really fun to watch now. They weren't fun during the whole season. They were boring. I think we said it a couple of times, but it's just lovely basketball what they're playing right now, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and they've really done a good job of exploiting Porzingis, like we said in our adjustments pod last week. He is a statue out there, and he has been since the first knee injury that he had in New York.
Crazy.
He just can't move the way that he used to move. He can definitely still shoot it well, but defensively, he just can't stay in front of anyone, really. Anyone's too smaller than him. So whether that's Paul George that's just driving by him, and then they'll kick it out to the open man and then move the ball around, and they just can't rotate around quick enough. Their small lineup has a 7-3 player out there. And then the next smallest player is Kleber, who's also not 100% physically. So those are two slow players that are trying to get round and close out on the Clippers shooters. And if there's one thing the Clippers has for days, it's shooters.
Yeah, I think the role players in Dallas, they shot the ball so well on games 1 and 2. They shocked the Clippers, who weren't expecting them to shoot as well. And obviously Dallas got a massive amount of points from the 3-point line, and then they kept relying on that, probably knowing that it was an unreal efficiency and they were not going to get it. So there's no plan B here. That's what I'm wondering. What's plan B for Dallas? If Luka can't have a 40-point game, what do we do?
But it's not like they were taking bad shots though either, right? Like it's like if you're getting good shots and they're going in, why you wouldn't go away from that. Absolutely.
But I think that even though they were good, even though they were open shots, are you confident enough that those players are always going to make those shots the way that they made them, like 50%?
Yeah.
There's a reason they leave you open, because you never make them, right?
Yeah. And then also the Clippers changed up the way that they defend. Because they were making so many shots, what they did was play smaller. That's part of why they dropped Zubac to the bench and went with Batum, because then you can stay home on the shooters. Those shots were open, and now they're not, because they can just switch onto the shooters. They can switch the matchup with Luka, and all of a sudden people that were open from either Luka driving right to the paint or him drawing a double team aren't open anymore. And those shots are way more difficult shots. And then once you stop making the ridiculous ones, you lose a rhythm on the easy ones as well. And yeah, we're just seeing them regress back to the mean. As you said, Jose, they've gone from 51% to 16%. And
it's ridiculous.
They're not going to shoot 16%, but hey. And that's the other funny thing, right? That's a great point, Mike, that the fact that they went home and the shooting dropped, because you always expect role players to shoot better at home. But it's this unique situation where we've gotten fans in the middle of a series. Yeah. And players are reacting in different ways to it. Like we've seen in one of the other series, is like Trae Young is absolutely embracing playing in front of his home fans and in front of the away fans. Whereas other players, it seems like they're a bit shell-shocked by having to actually play in front of fans. And I think the Mavs role players, if you look at, well, less so Josh Richardson, but definitely Hardaway, Kleber, and who's the other one? Finney Smith. They could play kind of carefree away from home, because it's like you're the lowest seed. It almost doesn't matter if you make or miss. Whereas when you then go and play in front of your home fans and you're up 2-0, there's an expectation to win, which they didn't have before. Right? There's an expectation to actually get over the hump and put this thing away. And you have to play with that pressure of the home fans. And I think we've seen some of the players in New York, some of the players on Dallas, and a few other places not be able to match up to that energy and that pressure.
Yeah.
Because it's been 2 years.
I mean,
it has been 2 years.
I had a lot of belief in the Clippers going in. So the first two games were a bit like more of an aberration for me, sort of thinking about who they've got. And I'd completely forgotten about Batum as well. And he's been impressive. He's played his way into that sort of starting spot, as much as Zubac has not been impressive. So, like for me, I think this is more how they should be playing. This is what the Clippers should be, rather than the first couple of games. But saying that, it's rough without sort of Luka being 100%. It's really like it's kind of it's a hard one to even sort of judge them on, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's something that he's recovering from as we speak.
Well,
Maybe.
They were saying that he's already better today, like able to move his head, because apparently he couldn't even turn left.
Yeah.
The other day, so I was like, how do you play with somebody that's got caught vision like that you can't even look around? So
yeah, the Zoolander just doing the full
can't really turn right.
But he strikes me as somebody that will try and play through it. Which can be good, can be bad, but when he's as important to that team as it is, it's kind of it's good to see him want to, at least, right?
And they made it seem like it was just like a crick in the neck, like he woke up with it type of thing. So it happened to all of us. So that should go away. So predictions. Jose, do you want to start us
Easy.
off?
Yeah. Easy. The Clippers will take them. I mean, I don't think I don't see a way back for Dallas, because like I just told you, like there's no plan B in Dallas. If Kawhi has a bad night, which I doubt, Paul George might still give you, like I said, he gave us 20 points in one quarter, so he can still score 30, playing well at 1 quarter and a half, and he's still a good defender. So and then you have Batum playing really well. Even Zubac can be a determining factor if he has a bigger role if he needs to, and Rondo can play well too. So I think that the Dallas supporting cast is just not there. So there's no plan B. It's too risky.
Okay, in 6, 7, 6, 7?
6.
It's over.
The next two are for
full straight.
Los Angeles, yeah.
I'm going to agree. Yeah, I think we're done. I think Paul George and Ty Lue were right to be unconcerned, and I'm not sure with Luka's. They were not concerned. They were not
I don't
concerned.
think Ty Lue understands what's going on, really. I think he's just there to be pretty. So I don't think
he made the adjustments that they needed to make, and they pulled it back to 2-2. Really? Yeah, we just talked about them, Tom.
They did.
Just because you disappeared.
I don't think he does, but yeah, whatever.
And yeah. I think it's the shooters on the Mavs have regressed to the mean, and like that was the trade-off that they made, right? That they traded offense for defense, and now the offense has fallen through, and they can't defend with Porzingis out there, so it's kind of done. They've been figured out. For me anyway. So yeah, in 6. Tom?
In 7. Clippers. I think Plan A is gonna have one more good game and they'll go to,
Right.
to the Clippers eventually. But yeah, I can't see it happening. As much as I love to.
Right.
See, I like logically, I agree. I think Clippers in 7, but I can easily see a way that Dallas comes back. Like like if you said that, okay, next game the Clippers shoot badly, they don't manage to sort that out, and then the game after that we have a Doncic, let's get shit done game back in Dallas. Like it would not surprise me at all. Like I could easily see that happening. I don't think it's a cut and dry Clippers series, but logically, I think you're right. I think the adjustments, like the Mavs just aren't deep enough. They don't have as many sort of options to go to as the Clippers. And the Clippers, like, they've just got so many good defensive wings to throw at them. Like it's rough. It's a rough matchup.
Yep.
So yeah, Clippers in 7.
Yes, the Golden State special. Bunch of players 6'6" to 6'9". So
they have the Morai, right?
Yeah.
The Morai
Marcus.
twins. Marcus,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, and with Batum playing as well, you've got like 4 guys that are like Doncic's size.
Yeah. Well, height for sure. He's a bit girthier than them, all of them. So we move on to the next series. What do you guys want to tackle? Lakers, Denver, Phoenix?
I think that we can talk about Denver because it's just driving me crazy, man. I just need to discuss.
All right, start us off then, Jose. We have Denver tied 2-2. Who'd have thought it? With the Portland Trailblazers, went down 1-0, went up 2-1, and now they're tied 2-2 after getting blown out in Portland.
Did you have this as a sweep going in?
No, I had the Nuggets in 5 actually. Obviously, I'm already wrong. I think, man, the last game was done in 3 quarters, maybe even before that.
Wild, absolutely wild.
And yeah, man, the Nuggets, they were just so bad. I think that this game, we can talk about the bad shooting night that Jokic had at 38%, or that Michael Porter Jr. shot only 3 shots. And scored 3 points.
Yeah. Unbelievable for your second option.
Rivers, 8 points. Aaron Gordon, 6 points. Best player on the team.
Come on, say it.
I'm going to mention it. But he still scored, 12 points and 7 assists. Hey, out of 20 from the team, the full team gave 20 assists, he gave 7. Anyway, you know what? So key things. Nurkic, he adjusted his defense on Jokic, and I said in the past that he couldn't defend him, and I sit corrected. I don't stand because I'm not standing. So Nurkic, amazing. Spaces before, now he was like just attached to that guy, much more physical, and that's something that Jokic doesn't like. CJ McCollum, 21 points. Powell, 29.
Amazing.
Nurkic, not only defense but also score 17.
Yep.
Lillard scored 10 points, but he didn't need to score more.
1 for
That's
10
what's
as well.
unbelievable about this. Exactly, 1 for 10. So what's the difference here? Rebounds. Denver actually won the rebounds. I went deep into rebounds like Tom always does. I was like, let me find out. Denver actually won the rebound battle, but they obviously lost the assist battle. So that tells me that everybody was kind of taking their own shots, right? And not passing the ball. I think that the problem was his attitude, man. Portland wanted to win this game. Denver was overconfident, and that can be a son of a bitch, can kick you in the ass, and that happened. It was just like playing like a second division team from, I don't know, I don't want to say any country, I don't want to wrong any country. So second division from the amateur league in what can we say, Argentina.
We have fans everywhere.
Okay. So yeah, it was just bad. I think massive attitude change to turn around this series, because right now it's pointing in Portland's direction, I have to admit.
Does anyone have anything else to say about how bad Denver were?
I mean, for me, it needs to start with Jokic as well. Like it was really weird the first few minutes of the game. Like the first basket, he just let Norman Powell drive past him, and I was like, okay, this is the fucking playoffs, man. Like you don't just let somebody get an easy basket like that. I don't care what minute it is. And then he misses a few shots that, like, for him would usually be, right, this is 100%, this is going in. And then he gets the offensive rebound and misses that as well. It was like, it was really weird to see a guy that's been that good for the whole season be that bad for even for a few minutes. So I like, for me, it's got to start with him. That, like, you can't come into the next game with that sort of energy, like, at all.
Yeah, it was interesting in that sense. Weirdly enough, it was still close for the first half, or at least for the first, like, 40, well, how long is a half? For the first, like, 20 minutes of the first half.
24.
It's a long game.
Yeah, the first, like, 20 minutes of the first half, and then the Blazers, like, ended the half on, like, a 10-0 run pretty much, and then started the third quarter on a 10-0 run, and that was it. The game was just over. And then Michael Malone, hashtag don't call me Mike, he just pulled his starters. He just pulled them. He pulled them early. And the reason I wanted to get all the negativity out of the way was because we have to remember this is A, the playoffs, and B, you have a choice in these situations where once they had won game 3 in Portland, they had regained home court advantage. And as dangerous as it is to do, sometimes you can just go, do you know what? We haven't got this game. Let's pull everyone, regroup, re-strategize, look at things that we could have done different, or just chalk it up to being one of those days when people just don't shoot the ball well, right? Sometimes that happens. And then you head back home and you make sure you take care of home court. And I think they had the luxury to do that, having regained home court in game 3 in a close one. But then at the same time, it's like you look at the roster and you just talk through the names, Jose, and part of the reason why they won game 3 was they had a huge shooting night from Campazzo. They had a huge shooting night from Austin Rivers, of all people, and they still only won by a few points, right? Yep. Portland was right there in the game at the end. And weirdly enough, Terry Stotts didn't put Enes Kanter in to rebound the free throw. Jokic gets the offensive board and they turn like a 3-point lead into a 5-point lead or whatever. And that was how close it was, right? It could have easily gone the other way. So with that in mind, you think, well, maybe they should have tried to get back in the game, but hey, you make a decision and you stick to it, right? I still think the Blazers are going to win, and I picked them before the series. I do think they're the better team. The fact that they were able to rebound from win a bad Lillard night after a game where the only good player was Lillard, just goes to show that they have more offensive weapons. And as I said before, neither team's playing defense anyway.
Norman Powell, what a game for him.
He was due, though. He was due because I don't know if you guys paid much attention to the season he was having in Toronto. He was becoming a really efficient, really consistent 20-point plus scorer over there. I think he even broke some kind of record for consecutive 20-plus point games or 25-plus point games. He's really turned into a player. It's just that they're playing him undersized at the 3, and I don't think that's helped him too much. So he was due a big one, and he can do it again. He can definitely do it again against that Denver defense. So we'll see we'll see what happens. Tom?
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I just think that what you said in your previews of the series, and then Dave was quite right. I think you said something in sort of in the lines of, the pros on the Blazers team are better. Do you know what I mean? Like they outweigh the cons. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't remember what you said something that you think that, the backcourt, I think, on the Blazers is so much more efficient and more offensively potent than Denver's one. So it's
than the front court of Denver.
And if the front court can, and if both front courts are a match, on the same level, like Nurkic has been able to match Jokic, then it becomes a very, very tricky situation for the Nuggets. They have to be perfect in order to win a game. And when they won those games, they were really good, but they won by a very minimal margin. So now I had the Nuggets in 6, and I'm not sure if that's the right call anymore. In my prediction, I think it's one of those series that can go any directions. Like we could see like the Blazers in 6, but it might also end up with the Nuggets in 7 or Nuggets. I don't know. It's one of those that it's to me very difficult to analyze, because you don't know. Like, you can sort of have regular, points, regular players that are very solid and they give you the same production. So this one seems to fluctuate like vastly. Like Lillard's having a 1 for 10 game. It's like, huh?
Yeah, I have to completely just almost erase the last game just because it was so bizarre. Like the shooting was just like, as I said, like Lillard just, that doesn't happen today. Lillard in the play.
Well,
that doesn't bode well for the Nuggets, right? That doesn't bode well for the Nuggets that you lost that.
No, it doesn't.
You just said that Lillard's having a bad game doesn't happen, but how about Jokic having a bad game?
Also,
well, I stand by the fact that I've not seen Jokic really dominate a game in the playoffs. Right. I because of how his game is and with his sort of passing ability, it's never going to be that obvious anyway. When he's doing that, but like, it's not the same when you see sort of like Dame Lillard sort of going off and like pulling his team to a victory. It's not the same as what Jokic would do for that to be true. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean, but
I know what you mean,
looking at the stats, Jokic is averaging 31 points for the series, and Lillard is averaging 30.8.
Yeah, but I mean, even when you were saying before, like it's with Jokic, it's much more about a team sort of thing for him. Like, he had Austin Rivers going 8 for 8. Like,
but hang on, Lillard was averaging like 37 a game just before that shitty game he just had. I think. So that his stats were dramatically
diminished.
Down.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, anyway, like my point being, I don't see that happening to Dame Lillard again.
Right.
But
you think it could happen to Jokic again?
Well, not so much him as much as the role players. Like I think
right.
Like better than what we would expect from some of them. Facu Campazzo, like what he's doing to Dame Lillard is clearly getting under his skin, but I think Dame will
completely murders him anyway. And I think I think you have a point actually with it.
Like, you could see that.
Yeah, absolutely. With the role players in Denver, let's think about role players on both sides. And I think the role players in Denver are players that don't have experience in the playoffs. Austin Rivers, okay, but then Aaron Gordon didn't really play big games in the playoffs, and obviously Michael Porter Jr. is the first real time he's in the playoffs, right? So that
they're
can
really relying
be something.
on Michael Porter Jr. And
well, he's had a great season, but the playoffs are the playoffs, right? And we've seen big names like Giannis not perform in the playoffs, for example. So it's expected that MPJ doesn't at some point.
Julius Randle, huge names.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. So predictions. I'm gonna stick to my pre-series prediction of Portland in 6, even though I don't really see them winning three in a row. I'm just gonna stick to it. I said it.
Two in a row.
I'm gonna stick to it.
Two in
Oh
a
no.
row, you mean.
Yeah,
I mean,
Listen, I'm a maths teacher now, Mike. Don't mess with me.
I think the Nuggets are going to win, man. I think that the Nuggets are still going to take it, but they will need an extra game. So it's going to be 7 for the Nuggets.
Tom?
The thing is, I said Nuggets in 6, and I'll change it to Nuggets in 7 just because I want to stick with my pick.
Mike?
I think I said Nuggets in 7, and I'm gonna stick with it because of Dave, what you were saying earlier about Nuggets basically winning back home court. And as you said, sort of like the role players do tend to play better at home court. I'd like to see like Jermichael Green play a little bit more and get some of the energy back in if they're struggling again, because he was the one guy that you could see like was boosting the team a bit. So
yeah,
we'll see.
We shall. That brings us to.
I mean, it could go either way.
Oh, for sure. That's why the series is 2-2. Let's keep that same energy for the for the shell. For the shell of the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Phoenix Suns. What a difference a week makes. What a difference a day makes. What a difference a game makes.
Yeah.
Lakers were up 2-1. LeBron was in the post, laughing, smiling at Jay Crowder, trying to defend him in the post while Drummond was on the bench, mimicking all of his moves. Everything was happy-go-lucky. Lakers went up 2-1. And then KCP goes down with an injury mid-game. AD tweaks his knee on Devin Booker. And then game 4, AD strains his groin, his left groin, same side as the knee injury. All of this kinetic chain stuff that we learned with Durant, it's all coming back to I don't know, coming back to prominence, I guess. He is expected to miss the next game. It's believed it's a grade 1 groin strain, which is normally carries a 7 to 10, 14 day recovery. So under those guidelines, he probably wouldn't be fit until game 7 at the very best. But they may bring him back sooner than that, depending on what happens between now and then. Game 4, the Lakers were actually down at the half, even with AD playing, and then in the third quarter they just basically laid an egg, scored just about double digits in the third, and the Suns pulled away. Lakers made a furious comeback in the fourth quarter, but weren't able to cut it to less than 6 points, I don't think. And Jay Crowder hit the dagger. He bounced back with 17 points, having been absolutely ice cold, not in the Trey way. I think he was 2 for 20 or something like that until this game. And that was, oddly enough, one of the things that actually came out of the AD injury that no one talked about, right? Jay Crowder was actually able to make shots because AD couldn't defend him in the same way that he was defending him before. And without that offense, the Suns don't win this game, oddly enough, even without AD out there. So what's changed? I mean, it's hard to not to look past. Sorry, it's hard to ignore the injuries and the effect that they've had on this series. With Chris Paul going down with his right shoulder injury in the first game, now AD injured and KCP injured for game 4. LeBron's still making his way back. As Tom said, he hasn't quite put his stamp on the series yet.
The armbar that Chris Paul put him in, please.
Well, it's hard to put on a stamp with one arm, right? It's not. No, it's really easy. Really easy.
Easy.
Yeah. So, where do we see this one going? Where do we see this one? Look at Tom. He's ready to go. Shit, go on. So he just shoot himself out of a cannon. He's loving it.
He's happy to talk about
Go.
No, man. Like I said in our first round preview, I don't believe those Lakers will go anywhere. And even if it goes to Game 7 and they have to bring AD back before that, what's your end game? Like you're highly you're playing with fire big time, because then you're risking AD's health in the longer run. Like you might go past round 1, but then you might break him for the rest of the playoff. So that's really, to me, that's a very risky game. But again, that this is so annoying in terms of injuries, because you want to see Chris Paul, he always do that in the playoffs. He gets wrecked at some point, but you sort of hope that he would escape that fate this year.
Past game 1.
Go past game 1 at least, It's like, but I think that more than the injuries, I think the Lakers' attitude on the court is just absolutely. It looks like a team that is giving up at times. Like there's even, have you seen that play of LeBron? Like they miss a layup and then he's not even racing back. I think it was in the last quarter, like one of the last play, I guess.
It was right at the end, yeah.
Right?
That wasn't the worst for me though. That was kind of
to me, that's the worst, because there's nothing worse than having your star player with that attitude, missing a layup, whatever, that's fine. But what he did then, I don't know, it's just something you expect from Doncic now, because he does that at times, losing his cool and from LeBron, dude, you're supposed to be the leader, he was, and he is the leader. He's the leader. And it's when the other guys see that, when it's actually pointed out live, there's where the hell is LeBron on the trace back? And I understand that he's not there physically, and then and it's fine that he can't make those runs back. That's all good.
I think that
but it's the whole shoulders down and going fuck,
yes, and that's the thing. He's injured when he has to defend, and then he had number 1 top 10 in the top 10 of plays on Saturday, because Caruso threw it to the backboard. So. And the entire Lakers team is doing that. I was watching the highlights, and I watched it a couple of times actually, because I want to analyze certain things. It looks like they love the Showtime Lakers. Magic Johnson's jersey is on the stands, on top of on the ceiling, and they love the fans just screaming on LeBron's dunks. But then when you have to defend. So I saw on the highlights alone at least 4 baskets from the Suns straight after a massive dunk or a massive 3-pointer, of the Lakers. So
dude, Cameron Payne running past LeBron James twice.
Exactly.
Twice.
So that's the thing. We do a massive play that, because they probably defended well one play, so they get on the or they get a good rebound, and then they go on fast break, they score a massive dunk by LeBron, and then on the other end, 3-pointer by Jay Crowder, because he was open, because Chris Paul got the ball and ran across the court. So what's that? That's absolutely attitude. And yes, you can say LeBron is injured, but Chris Paul is injured too, and he's still on the court, making the right decisions, giving the pass, showing his face, and that's a massive difference. I was so upset to watch the Lakers do that, after each amazing play, just not defend. That's terrible.
I think that was a factor of the last game rather than what we'd seen the 3 before that.
I agree, but it was an important game,
It was. I think that the attitude in the last game was really down again. I don't know if it's the Staples Center or if it's the crowd or what, but it was really quiet. It just seemed like a regular game. It was really quite odd, especially when you compare it with the MSG or something like that. It was noticeably
quiet,
subdued. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few reasons for that. First of all, the whole Suns scoring off the back of big plays by the Lakers, it was because they were running. They know that the Lakers are a bad transition defensive team, and they're really bad in transition on defense. And so the Suns decided to push it off makes as well as misses. So yeah, that absolutely happened. That was an adjustment that they made. And Chris Paul doesn't normally play fast. He's like LeBron. He likes to play slow, and then bet that he's going to be able to outsmart you on the few possessions that you have, just by playing efficiently. And I think part of why they played faster is because the Lakers do have LeBron, and it's like you can say you're going to outsmart him, but there's few people with a basketball IQ like either of them. And I with the slight talent discrepancy in favor of the Lakers, I think you go and get the easy buckets where you can get them, especially considering how good the Lakers defense is in a half court setting. So they did that. And then with regards to the crowd, I think as soon as AD got injured, it was a different atmosphere. It was a completely different atmosphere.
Yeah, it was an A-bomb in the crowd. Like, honestly,
it was quite. Because even when he was out there, he didn't play well. And then once like the big plays sort of wore off, it was just sort of this feeling of dread, right? Because he was already injured, and then he picks up a groin injury, and it's like, ooh, and he didn't come back, right? Even Embiid came back, he didn't come back. So it was just this feeling of, oh, shoot, like, as you said, Tom, it's not just about this series anymore. All of a sudden, it's like, well, even if he comes back and we get through, what's going to happen going forwards? We can't win a title without AD at 100%, because you look at the last two games, and it was actually AD that was carrying the offense, right? We said that LeBron hasn't controlled a game yet. Part of the reason why he didn't have to was because AD dominated in 2 games straight after a poor game 1. And that whole realization, I think, seeped into the fans' energy, and then the players' energy in the third quarter. And yeah, it's bleak. It's bleak out there.
Yeah, and you know, sorry, go on, Tom.
Yeah. Then I was going to say about one thing that I think the single most shocking thing I've seen from the Lakers in that game was the ball movement, or the lack of ball movement. There was several plays where you had LeBron at top of the key or whatever, the other guys literally on the same side, like not even spreading the floor and staying in corners and stuff, trying to play, like ISO. It was just like literally 4 other guys trying to understand what was going on, and being on, like, awkwardly standing on the court and doing like, looking at each other going, what are we doing now? Where are we running?
I agree.
Weird. It was the weirdest thing I've seen.
The third quarter especially.
The third quarter was there, and they had sub, like, and there's a couple of occasions it was the subs that were on court, and that happened all again. I'm like, this is a telltale sign to me when you see the subs on the court. Usually the subs, they want to show themselves, right? Especially in the playoffs. Like, at least the bare minimum is run those plays. If you don't score, you don't score. But like, at least with ball movement, trying to be in the right place at the right time, and it's like it was just not there anymore. I think that was like a team giving up on that game. I'm not saying in the entire series, but in that game, maybe that's the AD injuries. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Rotation. I think I do agree with you though, but that's at times most of the time they look like they were not running anything. It was kind of like a one-on-one forever, but they have a solution to that, and a couple of plays, not a couple, just a bunch of plays when Gasol was on the court. You run the pick and roll with Gasol, and Gasol is a player that reads the game and will give you the right pass, or play the high-low with Gasol. Like, it doesn't have to be LeBron and Gasol playing the pick and roll. On one play was Schroeder playing with Gasol at the pick and roll at the top of the key, and LeBron gaining advantage over his defender on the paint, and Gasol playing the high low there, which was amazing. And then Gasol shooting 3 3-point. He scored 3 3-pointers. One from the corner, 2 on the top, because they didn't defend him. So Gasol can be a solution. The problem is that he is a liability on defense, but he can also adjust it. So when the Suns play the pick and roll, it's usually Paul and Ayton, and the thing is, they are waiting for Chris Paul to attack the basket, and they're giving him too much space. And I said this before, that Denver was doing this to Dame Lillard, but Lillard can shoot threes. Chris Paul is not a great 3-point shooter, and he's injured his shoulder, man. So give him the freaking 3-pointer. Anyway, so they're waiting for him to come, and they kind of challenge him to drive. And Chris Paul literally dribbles twice and takes a mid-range jumper, and he scored like 4 or 5 of those.
Yeah, he was making them. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And alternatively, Ayton has been rolling so well after the pick. He knows he can. This guy, he's surprising me, man. He knows when he has to go. He knows when he has to, step back. It's really good. So the problem is that Gasol can be really good in offense, but on defense, he can't defend anybody.
But
right. So
yeah, no, he can't defend young, quick.
Yeah,
bigs. He could defend Zubac, right? Like but
be on Zubac, exactly.
Boban, he'd be all right with Boban.
Boban. Yeah. So I think the Lakers still they still have a shot, but they have to, play Gasol a little bit more, because we said it in the past that Andrew Drummond is like a rebounding cone, Just get that cone out of the way, unless he starts producing in offense too, because Andrew Drummond could be a bigger factor in offense. He's not.
And part of that is the rotations, and part of that is the way that the Lakers are playing, like you guys have accurately said. In that third quarter especially, it's like the Lakers forgot how to play without AD. And weirdly enough, there was a point where it was all bench players on the court, and that shouldn't happen.
Yep.
Either LeBron or Schroeder should be out there while during the playoffs, at least, while you're playing a shorter rotation. It was different in the regular season when THT was getting more minutes. He's not getting minutes now because he doesn't defend well enough.
Right.
But we shouldn't have had a period in the third quarter where there was no Schroeder, no LeBron, and Caruso's running all the plays with no AD out there, right? And I think the Lakers offense can bog down, and it always has bogged down, even with the starters available. But what they need to do is just simplify the offense, right? If Schroeder and Trez are out there, run a Schroeder-Trez pick and roll, get something going to the basket.
He's never out there. He's not out there.
He came in for a few minutes and got absolutely flamed on defense, but then we weren't trying to use him on offense. Right,
Yeah,
you can have that trade-off if he's doing both, drawing fouls inside, getting putbacks, and scoring on one end, and then fine, he's going to give up buckets on the other end. But at least you don't lose your momentum offensively. We can always get back the momentum defensively, and that's what the Lakers did in the fourth quarter. But Caruso was amazing in this game. I thought he was actually the Lakers' best player. But you can't rely on him offensively. So you have to always have a Schroeder or a LeBron on the court at all times, especially with AD now expected to miss game 5.
It feels like they're missing like a backup point guard. I don't know.
Yeah, and Rondo is a big miss. Letting him go, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe that would have helped.
Definitely.
But then we have Schroeder and we have LeBron. Like, that should be enough. That should be enough.
Yeah.
If you just stagger their minutes a bit more.
But with KCP going out as well.
The LeBron and shooters lineups aren't there without a KCP to rely on.
My issue with the Lakers is there are way too many massive bleak, massive. There's so many bad points that like accumulating for the Lakers. Like even for a long playoff run, that's why I'm very pessimistic about their hopes. Like you've got the situation with Montreal. Or was Montrez? No, whatever his name is. I can never say his name, but it's like he's like that can be a distraction in the locker room. Like even if he's not probably not talking to his coach or whatever, but that having that bad vibe in there, even if you've got LeBron that can probably go and say, hey,
he's been the chemistry has been good for the team. throughout the
Sure,
year.
but
It's
you
been
know how
fine.
it is in the team that he can go away.
It can change
real quick.
It could change, yeah. It could change.
But like the injuries, the potential bad vibe that he's bringing into the locker rooms, and like there's so many things that are actually not going the Lakers way this time around, and it's I'm very pessimistic from.
For me, this next game with AD being down and the way everything is, this is going to be a big one on the coach and on Vogel. Like he now needs to make the adjustments. He can't do what he was doing. He's going to have to come out with something. So yeah, I don't know if I'd be super confident with Vogel being the person that's making that sort of change.
Shots fired.
How do you feel, Dave? How do you feel about your coach?
See, I started smiling then because Vogel has made good adjustments throughout last year's playoffs, and then he hasn't had to make them until now, right, this year. But I think I generally trust him, but I do think the problem with him being at the helm for this is it's offensive adjustments that need to be made, whereas I think last year it was slightly more defensive adjustments that needed to be made, and he's not a good offensive coach, and no one on that bench is a good offensive coach either. Jason Kidd, who's the other guy we have? I can't remember his name now. Used to coach in Memphis.
Shots fired by me. Look at this. It's his team.
And but I smiled because we might see a sighting of Game 5 LeBron.
Well, he started.
Yeah, that will win the game.
He started in the fourth quarter. Like you could see, and that's what I was going to say when Tom was saying about his bad sort of energy. Like you could see he was like, okay, AD's out. We need to pick this up. Nobody is scoring. It's on me. And he tried to go down every time, like either get a basket himself or make a very, very easy opportunity for somebody else. And then when he was doing that, clearly overexerting himself. And Schroeder has an easy layup and he misses.
And he misses.
I think it just broke him. And it shouldn't, and like that shouldn't be acceptable in the playoffs. You get back every time. But I think that's what we saw, and I just
he knew that was the game.
Yeah,
he knew it was the game. But
and also he had made the run. Like I remember playing with you, Tom, and you had run out on a fast break, and I was coming up behind.
That doesn't sound like me, man.
Hey, this is what happened. It was a 2-on-2, and then I didn't want to make the turnover, so I took it in and I laid it in. And you were like, see, that's why I don't run on fast breaks.
Exactly. That's why I don't run on fast breaks. That's why I don't run in general.
And LeBron made the run. Like, given the circumstances, he made the decision to run out. Like, if Schroeder was ahead of people, like, it was a contested layup, but he was open enough to take and make that shot. But LeBron decided to make the run. And I think the reason why his shoulders were so slumped weren't just because he missed the layup. It was also because he took the layup. He had a trailing LeBron in a 2-on-2. I think LeBron was thinking, this is a 3-point play right here. He's about to pitch this back to me.
Wade puts this off the backboard.
I'm going to dunk all over these two motherfuckers. And it's a 3-point play. We cut it to 2 or whatever it would have been, or 4, 3 or 4, whatever it would have been. And this crowd is going to go insane. And we're about to win this game. And then he takes the layup. Fine. He misses the fucking layup. And I just made this fucking run at the end of this fucking game with AD fucking out. And now you want me to get back on fucking defense, man? Fuck you.
Yes.
The game is over. And I think that was his thinking. I personally, obviously, would have a different mentality. I wouldn't quit on the game, but hey, we're all human.
I just think is that he's kind of know that he hasn't got the extra gear this year in this playoffs run, like physically.
But I think
he
he's
said.
sure that he does, though.
That's not what he said. He said these shoulders are built this way for a reason.
I think there's a lot of him trying to convince himself that he has that he can, but there's a lot of things that like the secondhand comments of him saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be 100% this year." Him being actually injured and him being like, literally every time I've seen the Lakers games, he's not had, like, usually when he's on the court, literally the other team shit themselves, right? Or there's, I've not seen that from the Suns. I've not seen them. It's like, oh, it's another guy in the Lakers jersey. Like, I'm not saying this to shit on LeBron, because I think he's the best player. Like, fully healthy, of course he is. Like, you'd be completely mad to say otherwise, but this year there's like that little bit of magic that's sort of gone. Not magic as in Lakers magic, but like that little extra.
Orlando magic. Yeah, it's more like Orlando magic than
the magic is not in the playoffs, definitely.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? It's like, and it's not a dig. It's literally like the way I see him on the court. It's like, there's that little thing that little edge that that massive edge that he had before. There's like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not much room now for him to allow himself not to be 100%.
There's less margin for error, right?
There's less margin for error, I think, this season. And then the other thing is that I think we've mentioned him once, or I mentioned him once, like Cameron Payne's being able to take over from Chris Paul when Chris Paul has to sit. That's been really weird to witness, because it's one of those guys you're like, huh? He was pretty much out of the NBA at one point.
Close to it.
Like,
yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
And I think that's why they might give Coach of the Year to Monty Williams, because it's
they
like,
already
if
have.
you can. Well, no, that was the players. Was it the Coach Association or something? It's not.
No,
he got it.
That was it. Yeah.
Oh, they did make it weird this season. It's like, what's what, you know?
Being very quiet, right?
Yeah.
Well, it used to be like this, though, in the past, before the NBA awards.
Yeah.
Ceremony, whatever. Like, it used to be like this.
Playoffs.
Yeah.
So predictions.
Oof, this is a tough one.
Lakers in 5.
Good luck with that one.
Who's with me? Yeah, I don't know. I'm confident in getting one of the next 2 without AD, but only one. And then I think AD coming back actually complicates things. So I don't know if the Lakers can win it in 7 or lose it in 7, but I just until LeBron fails I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna go with him, partly because of how well the Lakers have defended Devin Booker. I feel like it's more LeBron versus CP3 than anything else, and I'm willing to take LeBron in that battle.
Yeah.
Lakers in 7.
Wow. Homer.
Yeah, I'll go Lakers in 7 because I hope AD comes back at least on the last game, but I don't think they're gonna go further than the second round. Yeah,
because that Nuggets team is gonna beat them. Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know anymore, man.
Yeah, it's a flawed teams in the next round. Who wants to go?
Tom, go ahead.
My prediction was Phoenix in 6, and I was the only one giving Phoenix in 6. I'm sticking with Phoenix in 6, just because
to your
I
guns.
can. Yeah,
I like it.
You can indeed.
This is a really tough one, I think. Just because I think logically I do go Phoenix, but I kind of like, can LeBron go out in the first round?
Would be the first time ever.
there's always a first time. There's always a first time.
You know what? I'm gonna go Lakers in 7 because I think they're gonna make an adjustment I think the coaching adjustment is going to get them the win in Staples.
No, 5 is in at Sunsville,
Yeah.
Sounds
I
good.
think, I think
Phoenix Suns Arena.
Arizona.
it's got a weird one, doesn't it? It's like
Sunshine
it's a
Arena.
sponsored
It's being
one.
renamed. It's being renamed.
So anyway, Lakers in 7, coaching adjustment, and then Phoenix win, and then LeBron game 7.
Ooh, okay.
There you go.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
You guys have convinced yourself there.
Well,
I feel like it takes a lot more convincing to go that way than just looking
I
at it.
Uh,
for sure.
And I know
for
it's
sure.
the LeBron effect. It's the LeBron
It's
effect.
the LeBron
you know.
effect, yeah.
Yeah,
If it was a
that's
different
definitely-
team, if it was a different team.
Yeah.
Phoenix, Phoenix, like I've got to say, Phoenix have been really great. And what you were saying about Aiton, like,
Remarkable.
yeah.
Mm.
Well
It's
done.
The
really
one thing
stepped up.
the one thing Phoenix has to work on is the the dagger. Like they've done it a couple times. It feels like they could have made that
Put the-
shot earlier.
put the game away.
Put it to bed
Mm.
like much earlier. in
Sooner,
a bunch of
yeah.
games. That's the one thing they have to really like. Sometimes they've taken a stupid couple threes that wasn't really wide open or really in the tempo, but I was like, you could have killed that with a 2, for example.
Yeah.
But
But
anyway.
the Lakers were defending in that fourth quarter, man. Caruso everywhere. So that wraps things up. There was a few other things that I would have got to if we had the time, but we don't. So fans need to start acting right.
Yeah, please. My God.
Hashtag
Every night.
turn off injuries.
Turn off injuries. Yeah.
And would you stomp on a leprechaun?
Oh my god, we could do an entire episode on this
I
because
know.
I've seen some stuff. I'm actually. Oh my god, I'm scared for future generations, man.
All right, but we will wrap things up there. Get us on social media at Grit and Grime Pod across all platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell, and rate us on Google, rate us on Apple, and leave a review if you have time, please. It can be a 1-word review. Great, 5 stars.
Lit.
Yeah, try and do it in as few letters as possible.
There's a new one for my daughter. Gang, gang. I'm like, yeah, just go for it.
She just discovered that, did she?
Or just
It's
sheesh.
taking
You know,
its time.
whatever.
Oh, Jesus, that's the bane of my existence.
I know. It's mine too.
So we wrap things up there. From me, David Sagoe. From I don't even know where to go because everyone's been bounced
Don't
around.
matter.
Thomas Arnal,
Bye.
Jose Garcia Vidal,
Ciao, ciao.
and Michael Downey.
Night.
We're out of here.
Bye.